Hello there! I'm going to start off this video by saying that I apologize if you can hear the background noise over the music that I'm going to add to this video because I'm filming this during the Oscars, and yes, the Oscars absolutely suck. They're terrible. However, I'm watching a group of people who are doing a live commentary making fun of the Oscars, which is really, really fun. So if you hear that in the background, that's what's going on. However, I'm going to be trying to offer commentary on what I'm doing here as I'm doing stuff while watching these terrible Oscars go down. So I have the Muse Kits box for this month, and I already know exactly what's in this box. So I'm just gonna open it on up. I've been avoiding it for a few days just because I already did an art assignment for a class that is using the same stuff, but I am ready to get back into it. Here is our zine for the month, and you're getting a little bit of a hint of what there is here. See some paints? Wondering what's happening yet? Alrighty. I did not know that this came with a pencil case or a brush case. That is really cool, and it's really big too. This is a huge brush case. Look at that. That is such a nice size. Wow. And it has a little handle. Perfect. That is gorgeous. But there's some other stuff in here that I didn't quite get to see. This, I believe, is a little tool that my roommate actually has that I saw her using and I thought was pretty cool. So I'm excited to have one of my own. Let's see. Here we go. Got it open. It's a lot stronger than I thought it would be. I thought it was going to be a lot more rubbery. But if you pop it down like this, here you go. This is a little water container, a little portable water container for your paints. If you're like me, you usually bring a glass jar around with you everywhere for your paint water. But this one is just really easy to store, super portable. You just fold it down. And it's this nice little rubbery material, and it's this cute glue color. I think it's absolutely adorable. And then we have even more brushes. I am gathering quite the collection of brushes from Muse Kits, and I like them. They have a very, very nice quality of brushes that they always send, and I'm excited to see the variety here. I love the detail brushes. I like these wide angle brushes, very nice. And we have what looks to be a metallic palette. I have one of these in white, but this one seems to be made of metal. It doesn't sound like plastic. It definitely sounds more metallic, so this may be made of aluminum or some other sort of semi-metal material other than just the plastic ones that I'm used to using, so that's very nice. Here we have our sticker for the month. Here we have acrylic paint. We have 8 12 milliliter colors, and it looks like we have a series of browns, which is really nice. Our primaries, a green, a black, and a white. Here we have a sponge, which can be used to make textures while painting. It could also be used to mix paint. You can blend. You can do all sorts of stuff with a sponge. And here we have woodless graphite pencils, and these are absolutely beautiful. I've never had the chance to use woodless graphite pencils before, but I have seen them. They work just like any other colored pencil, they just don't have the wood on the outside. So they're going to be very interesting to play around with and use. And then here we have our painting surfaces, which is what is going to be our guideline for this entire video. And these are wood panels. So we're going to be doing acrylic painting on wood. Now, I just did a project for my 3D design class where I was painting on wood, so I have a little bit of experience. And I think this is going to be much nicer than what I was working on, because what I was working on was very textured. This is very smooth and sanded, so I'm excited to work on a very solid, non-textured surface. And then, last but not least, we have our little candy of the month, which looks to be a apple flavored candy. Yep, it is a green apple flavored candy. Let's get this box out of the way. And here's all the stuff. Let's get this here. Brushes, our zine, there's the acrylic paint, brush holder, our palettes, pencils. Look at all this stuff. I'd say we definitely have everything we need for a nice fun paint day. I'm just gonna take a look real quick at what the prompts are for this month. Alright, I found the prompt words. The prompt words for this month are music, clover, spring, and graffiti. And since it is approaching St. Patrick's Day, I think it would be fun to do something that is clover related. I think that relates to St. Patrick's Day. I think I might try to combine clover and graffiti and see if I can make some sort of really cool graffiti style painting. I think that could be really fun. Let's run with that idea and see what we can make. Okay, a lot of progress has been made since I last recorded. It's a few days later because I got busy, but this is my sketch that I came up with for Geese. I only have this one for now, so we'll see how long it takes. If I have more time, maybe I'll come up with a couple more ideas. But unfortunately, this will be coming out after St. Patrick's Day, so it is a little bit late, but I wanted to do the St. Patrick's theme. I wanted to do the clover theme, so this is what I came up with. I'm doing a leprechaun hat with little clovers all over it, and I'm planning to try to make it look somewhat like graffiti art. So there's going to be splotches of paint here in the background. I'm going to do some cool highlights. I'm excited decided to play around with this. I usually only do this style on my sketchbook covers, and that's why I wanted to do it, because I know I have something I can reference. This is one of my older sketchbooks that I made. I painted the cover for this. I did it with a more graffiti bubble style text, and as you can see, I did paint around the outside. This was all made with acrylic paint, so I feel like this is a style that I can try to replicate and use for this painting. I have my water over here in our little container out of sight, and I'm just going to start playing around with the painting. I'm going to start with the green, a little bit of yellow, and some white. Probably go with a darker green because I want these clovers to be pretty light, so maybe I'll keep this a mid-tone. We'll see what happens. I'm going to start with just doing the hat first. That's our base. There's mostly just hat here. The largest object in this piece is the hat, and the most exposed part of the piece is the hat, so we're doing the hat first. Let's just get a little bit of green out. These are small tubes, so I'm trying to remember to be very conservative. I don't think I'm gonna need too much. We'll see how far it goes. I like to go with a bit bolder of a look, so we'll see how it turns out. Don't think there's quite enough yellow in here. Yeah, that's very pigmented green. Let's put a little bit more yellow into that mix. Don't think I want it to be that green. Still not green enough. There we go. That's starting to get a little bit better. That's more the green that I'm looking for. Okay, let's see how it looks. Ooh, this is pretty opaque. That is going down really well. Try to get a nice solid coat down as our base. Get a little more paint and go around the clover. Let's get a little bit more of that green right here. I really like how smooth this is. One complaint I have about working with canvas, and why I usually don't work with acrylic paint, is that I just don't like the texture of canvases. I like something that's very smooth, that's easy to work with. I just don't like the canvas texture. Now I'm starting to be able to see my pencil lines through there, so maybe it's not quite as opaque as I thought it was, but that's okay. If we have to do multiple layers, I am 100% okay with that. And just fill in this little spot right here. There's another spot there that I can't really reach. Okay, this is nice because I can actually still see my lines a little bit to reference when I go back and add more layers and bits of shading, so I don't accidentally go over it again. That's really nice. I have had that problem with acrylics in the past where they're so opaque and I accidentally go over a section I didn't mean to go over. This metal palette is really loud. I said if I want the underside and top to be darker or lighter. I feel like up here should be darker, and under here I kind of want it to be lighter. So let's play with that. One reason why it may not be so opaque is because of the yellow that's in there, because the yellow itself didn't seem to be that opaque. I didn't swatch anything beforehand, so it could be that as well. Let's get that line. It's blending. Now let's see, if I only have a tiny bit of green paint there, could I add significantly more yellow paint and a little bit more white? Hopefully that'll make it be lighter. I'm gonna try to use up a little bit more of it, so hopefully that white will be a little bit more powerful. Okay, it's looking a little bright now, so I feel like probably the best thing I can do is just work with it. Oh, that was way too much white. Whoops. Just gonna move you over there for the time being. Whoopsie daisy. I feel like this is lighter enough that it won't stand out too much. It'll still be noticeably lighter. I might use this color for the clovers. I really like it. I think this is a solid light green. It'll serve as a really good start for my base layers. You know, I really hope I can clean this once it's dry. I always have a little bit of fear when it comes to these types of palettes. I really get scared if I can clean my acrylic paint off of them, because if it gets stuck, I'm gonna be a little upset. Such a nice clean palette. I'm going to be sad if it gets dirty. You can really tell I'm scraping for the rest of the paint here. So much of it just piled on the brush I can't get off. Okay, let's wash it a little bit. Try to get some of that paint out of there. It is time to mix more paint. Okay, that's a little bit lighter. Let's see if we can use that as a highlight up here. I know this area isn't completely dry yet, so maybe I can try to blend it. Okay, that blended real nicely. Not so much up here. It's just not that dry. While not touching the rest of the paint, because I don't want to get paint all over my hands. Ooh, this is not very opaque. I wonder if I'm just too used to gouache. I use so much gouache for my stuff and never acrylic. Trying to make sure I don't treat this too much like gouache. Ooh, yeah, not very opaque. I'm going to have to do multiple layers, it seems. Except now this looks far lighter than this. So now we're gonna have to do another layer. Okay, it's blending a little bit like gouache. I like that. I think they also dry a little bit slower, which is
Nice, I like that. I'm gonna try to mix a lot more yellow with it. Try to make it really, really bright green, at least as a base idea for the background. I feel like I'm gonna make it a little brighter, but I think I'm just gonna start with this as a base layer. Oh, let's rotate it. That's gonna make it a lot easier for me to be laying down paint, I think. Oh yeah, this is so much nicer. Looking very streaky though. I'm noticing the streaking a lot with this, and I know there's a lot of yellow. So this one's gonna take quite a few layers to get a really solid base. Small spots. There we go. We're getting there. We're getting there. It's starting to get a little bit more color. I'm gonna get some dinner while this dries, just so I can make sure that I have a really nice dry layer to build on top of, because I just don't want to risk blending into these layers that aren't dry yet. I just want to wait. I want to make sure it looks really, really nice. Except I gotta get this little spot here because I forgot him. Okay, I think it's a little bit drier, so let's try to go over this again. I know acrylic dries darker than when you place it down, so we are gonna have to take that into account. I feel like I'm gonna try to do this one first. I want to make sure I can still see what I'm doing. I want to try to fill in all of the clovers that are most easily visible. I want to try to do the ones that I think are most dry. And I recall filling in this guy either first or second. My problem with acrylic paint is I either always make too little or too much. I can never make quite the right amount. I want to do a second layer on the top right here, and I also want to try to start building in my shadow layers. I think I'm going to do that with a smaller brush though. I think I need to move into something a little more detailed. Okay, let's fill in the top. That looks a lot more solid. Now to build in those shadows. Oh boy, I didn't think about how it was going to look on the upper area of that hat. This is gonna be fun. I still want to separate this spot, so maybe I'll try to make it seem like there's a little highlight there as I go and I fill this spot in. I don't know, I'm winging it. I'm winging it with shading this hat because I don't know how hat shading actually works. I'm unintentionally making the hat thicker, but you know what? It's fine. I'm gonna have to go over this with a second layer again, I'm pretty sure. Okay, I shaded that area in. I don't know how I feel about it. I don't know. I'll probably have to go over it again with a lighter layer that matches that original base green. I wonder if I used yellow ochre, if I would get a better, richer yellow tone inside of my stuff. I'm really hoping that this yellow ochre makes it look a little bit more opaque, except it's turning brown now. Yeah, that's not the shade I wanted. Whoopsie. I guess the golden ochre is a little bit too brown. It looks very similar to the clover color, so I'm gonna have to be really careful just to make sure I can still see. Acrylic is definitely a slow but steady process. Yippee! Look at those nice colors. Now let's just make these match the color of the clover above to look nice and consistent. Very nice. Very nice. It's slowly getting more solid. I feel like the clovers are there. Now I need to go over these spots again, if they're dry enough. They're looking still a little bit wet. More green paint, yippee! No way, did I actually pour enough paint for me to use this time? That never happens. Okay, I have given this plenty of time to dry. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to start adding in those little elements that give it that little reminiscent hint of graffiti and pop art just a little bit more. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to start using this green paint. I'm going to be using it on the clovers to give those tiny little details, those little veins, and it's going to make it really pop. I'm also going to do it around the border here on the paint splatters. Not a part of the supplies for the box, but I would like to use my white pen just to give it a little bit more highlight. Probably use the green for that. But this is just a starting point just so I can see. I actually have no idea what the veins of a clover look like. I should probably be looking that up. Am I gonna do that? Probably not. I mean, once I add a little more detail, it should become a little bit clearer. There's this whole thing when you're a kid about, oh, find a 4-leaf clover, it's so lucky, but I've found a ton of 4-leaf clovers throughout my life. They're not as uncommon as the St. Patrick's Day tradition seems to make them be. I still really want to paint a clover cow. Eventually, I'll paint that clover cow eventually. Someday I'll paint a clover cow. I definitely don't want to paint it with acrylics, so that's why I'm not doing it here. On a clover, or are these leaves or are these petals? I've never really thought about that before. Ooh, that was thick. That's gonna take a hot second to dry. Oh boy, I don't know if I like that. I might have to try to back this up using a Posca pen, which I do plan to do. That's another thing I'm gonna add to this piece that didn't come with the box is Posca pen. Usually when I work in acrylics, I double up and I use Posca pens alongside them After all, Posca pens do have an acrylic-like paint within them. They are a paint pen, so I feel like they go pretty hand in hand with each other, and they work really well together for my specific style. Let's see, let's rotate it. Now I'm gonna have to think about doing it on the right side because it's the opposite direction. Okay, that wasn't as much of a disaster as I thought it might be, so I'm glad that turned out okay. Actually, maybe mixing in some lighter yellow will help. I feel like I placed that highlight in the wrong spot. Well, it's done now, so there's not really much I can do about it. Now I'm gonna try to make it a lot lighter. Oh, I completely forgot to paint in the belt buckle spot thingy. I just realized that. Oh no. How did I completely miss that? I didn't think about it at all. It's not awful, but I think I'll probably go over it just a little bit because my brush is kind of wet, which is making the black the slightest bit transparent. Just the slightest bit. It's looking pretty good. It's pretty dark, but I want something that I can make sure I can get a very solid black line with. You know, somehow this is making me think of an avocado, and I don't know. It has somewhat of an avocado shape, and it's making me think of avocado. I'm going to grab my Posca pens. I think it's time to switch to the Poscas. Okay, I've got my greens, my blues, my blacks, and my whites. I'll get my browns to make the belt later. For now, I need this green, and I believe this is the only green I have. I don't think I have a pastel green, but I just want to go over this area a little bit. Okay, I'm gonna have to go over it again with the black when I'm done, because it's not dry, but it needs to be cleaner. What's missing is the pops of whites. That's the last thing that we really need, except for a little bit more green on these clovers. Ooh, this is adding quite a bit of interest. I really like this. Okay, that looks better. Now I just need to get a little bit of that same color shading going right here. Now that's a bit of brightness that I want to be achieving. I just had to make a minty color to get it. Looky here, I finally finished it. I just decided to do the rest off camera because I was going in between doing various things, so I didn't have a chance to really sit down and finish it. So I finished it in small increments. All I basically did was just added the white around, and I added dots of white, and I made a little white border around the hat itself. I knew it was missing those pops of white, and adding the white is what really pulled it all together and separated the hat from the background, especially with these little white dots all over the place now. I think they look very pretty. I think it makes the background look cool. It makes everything pop so much. I absolutely love this piece, and I think it is a great late St. Patrick's Day piece. I know it's a late St. Patrick's Day piece because there's no way I'm getting this video up by the time that I start editing, because it is currently the night before St. Patrick's Day, so there's no way that's going to happen. But happy late St. Patrick's Day, and I hope you all enjoyed the video where I created this. I don't usually do much stuff in acrylic paint outside of painting my sketchbook covers, so it was fun to try it on wood. Definitely a fun experience. I like this surface way more than I like canvas, so I really like this. And hey, I have some extras now if I would ever like to do more wood paintings. So that's gonna be it for the video today. It's a little bit shorter than usual, but I think that's totally fine, especially since I have an extra video that dropped for you guys last week. Hope you all enjoyed this one. As always, the links to everything with Muse Kits are in the description, along with the links to all my stuff. Be sure to like, comment, and subscribe if you feel so inclined, and I will see you all in my next video. Bye, everybody.